You are officially live with Mommy Dynamic. And of course, what we're going to be doing here today is that we are going to be doing some mathematics. And of course, if you are coming on this channel for the first time, please remember to like, share, leave your comment, and to leave a comment on the outside. You type it in the comment section, okay? Remember, we are now in maths hour, and of course, the topic for today's maths class is that we're going to be doing some division, and of course, you're going to be dividing decimals by whole numbers. All right, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go right into today's session. And of course, let me check the chat to see who we have here with us. And of course, we have Devon Stewart. And Devon, mega welcome to you. Thanks for joining DG Girls. All right. All right, so you are officially live with Mommy Dynamic. Guys, let's go right ahead and start doing some maths. All right, let me check to see who else we have here with us. All right, so we also have Pink right here, and Pink is saying, I miss. Thank you guys for the thumbs up, and also thank you for the share out. All right, remember, if you have a friend, you can invite them in and tell them to come on over. Let us have a great time. All right, let's start our maths session. All right, so the first maths that we are going to be looking at is that we are going to have 7.77, and of course, we are going to be dividing by 4. All right, let me write it so you can see it. 7.77 divide by 4. That's the first maths for today. Remember now, guys, what you are going to do is that you are going to ensure that the first thing you do is to set the problem out. All right, so remember, we're setting it out like regular division. It is regular division that we are doing. So let's set it out. All right, this is how you go about setting it out. And of course, 7.77 is known as your dividend, and that's dividend. That's your dividend. And of course, your answer is going to be your quotient, and that's QUOI. That's your quotient. QUOTIENT. All right? And of course, in this problem, 4 is known as your divisor, and that is DIVISOR. All right? Guys, if you're hearing me clearly, you can type in the chat DD. All right? If you're hearing me, you can type the word DD so that I know that you are hearing me clearly. All right? So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go right into today's session. All right? Okay? So let's work it. All right, first thing you are going to do is to ask yourself, how many groups of 4s can you get from 7? And of course, you can only get one group of 4s. Now, the next step is to take this one and multiply it by 4. And of course, you're going to get 4. Draw your line, and of course, you're going to subtract. All right, so the next thing you are going to do is that you're going to say you have 7 things, you give away 4. Of course, you have 3 things left. All right, can you get a group 4 from 3? No, you can't, because 3 is smaller than 4. So look to see what is next in line in your dividend. And of course, it is a decimal place. So I'm going to write my decimal place right there. The next thing you are going to do is to look to see the next digit that you have in line. And of course, you are going to bring it down. All right. So now I'm going to bring this 7 down beside this 3. Now it is going to become 37. Now we have 37. Ask yourself, how many groups of 4s can you get from 37? And of course, you can get 9 groups. you can get 9 groups of 4s. And of course, now you're going to take this 9 and multiply it by 4. And 9 multiplied by 4, of course, that is 36. So I'm going to write my 36 right here. So now I'm going to be taking away. All right? So you have 7 and you give away 6. You only have 1 left. You have 3 and you give away all 3 of it. You have 0 left. So now ask yourself if you can get a group of 4 from 1. And of course, you can't. So the next thing you're going to do is that you are going to bring down the next 7 that you have in line. And of course, now it is going to be 17. All right? So the next step is that you are going to say to yourself, how many groups of 4s can you get from 17? And of course, how many groups of 4s can you get from 17? All right? You can only get 4 groups. So 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. And of course, you're going to draw your line and you're going to take away. All right? So now you are going to ask yourself 7 and you give away 6, you have 1 left. All right? So the next thing, you have 1 thing and you give away this one, you are left with 0. All right? What is the next step? Remember, we are doing decimal numbers. So the next thing you are going to do is that you are going to ask yourself if you can get a group of 4 from this one down here. And we know we can't. Why? Because 1 is smaller than 4. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to put a 0 right here. And of course, why are we putting a 0 right there? Because we are doing decimal number. And now we're going to say to ourselves, how many groups of 4s can we get from this 10? And of course, we can only get what? 2 groups. All right? So 4 multiplied by 2, we get 8. And of course, draw your line. And of course, you are going to take away 8 from 10 and you have 2 left. All right? So you have 2 left. And of course, you are now going to say, can you get a group of 4 from 2? You can't. So you're going to put a 0 there and say 4 into 20. So how many groups of 4s can you get from 20? And of course, that is 5 groups. All right? So 4 multiplied by 5, of course, that is 20. Draw your line, take away, and of course, you're left with 0. Guys, I'm going to give you a chance to look at that problem. And of course, I am coming so that we can work it together. All right, guys. So now we're going to look to see if our quotient, which is the same thing as our answer, is correct. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be proving our answer. This is how we go about proving our answer. So I'm going to write prove our answer, P-R-O-V-E, and I'm going to write answer, A-N-S-W-E-R. All right? So how are we going to prove our answer? We are going to take our quotient, which is 1.425, and we're going to multiply it by 4. And that's what we're going to do to see if our answer is correct. All right, so remember we're doing multiplication, and of course we are multiplying by decimal number right here. So we're going to do the first thing, which is to put our decimal place down. But before we do that, we need to check to see how many digits are after our decimal place. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to line up my decimal place right here. And I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 dots so that when we put our digits, they can all line up in column and rows. All right. So now the first thing you're going to do is to take 4, and of course you're going to multiply it with 5, and our 5 multiplied by 4, you're going to get 20. And of course 20 is a 2-digit number, so I'm going to put down my 0, and of course I'm going to put my 0 down. The next thing I'm going to do is to ensure that I carry my 2, and I'm going to carry my 2 over to my thousandth place. And of course, I'm going to take my 2 and I'm going to multiply it by 4. And 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. And of course, 10 again is a 2-digit number. I'm going to put down the 0 because it is in the ones place. And I'm going to carry my 1 over. I'm going to carry my 1 over to my hundredth place. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is to take this 4 in the hundredth place and multiply it by this 4. All right, so 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17. So now I'm going to put 17 right here. 17 is a 2-digit number. I'm going to put down my 7 because 7 is in the ones place, and I'm going to carry my 1 over to the 10th place. All right, so now I'm going to take this 9 and multiply it by 4. All right, so 4 multiplied by 9 is 36, plus 1 is 37. So I'm going to put my 7 down and carry the 3 over to the ones place. Remember, when it is a 2-digit number, you can't put down both digits, right? So the next thing we are going to do is that I'm going to take this one and multiply it by 4. And of course, 4 multiplied by 1 or 1 multiplied by 4 give you 4. And when you add 3 to it, the 3 that you carry, you are going to get 7. And of course, right here, your answer is 7.7700, which is the same thing as 7.77. And of course, remember now, in a multiplication, your answer is known as your product. All right? So how are we going to check to see if our product is correct? We are going to match it, P-R-O-D-U-C-T, spell product. And we're going to match our product with our dividend. And if they are the same, that is going to tell us that our quotient is correct. All right? So in this case, our dividend is 7.77 and our product is 7.77. So this is telling us that our working is correct. All right. Thank you for making it. The Dynamic DD girls, of course, we're in maths hour and we're looking at division. What are we dividing today? We are dividing decimals by whole numbers. All right. So let me give you a chance to just look at this problem and then we're going to take another one. All right. So we are going to take another problem. We're going to take problem number 2. All right. And we're going to work it together. We are going to work it together. All right. What is problem number 2 now? So we have 2.12, and of course we are dividing by 2. So I'm going to write it down. 2.12, and of course we're dividing by 2. So I'm going to work it out. Remember, you have to first set your problem out. And of course, 2.12 is known as your dividend, and 2 is known as your divisor. All right, so let's go ahead and work the problem out. All right, great going so far, guys. Thank you for making it, the Dynamic DD girls. All right, so let's go ahead and work this problem. So now you're going to ask yourself, how many groups of 2's can you get from this 2? And of course, we can only get one groups of 2's. All right, one group of 2's. All right, so 2 multiplied by 1, you have 2. You're going to take away now. You have 0 left. The next thing is that you're going to look to see in your dividend what is next in line. And of course, it is your decimal place. So you're going to put your decimal place in your quotient. Then you are going to look and bring down the next digit that is in place. And of course, that is numeral 1. It is in the 10th place. So now you're going to ask yourself, can I get a group of 2's or a group of 2 from 1? No, you can't get any. And of course, you are going to put 0 right here to say no, you can't. Then the next thing you are going to do is to bring down the next digit that is in line. And that is a 2. And of course, it is in your 100th place. All right. So the next thing you are going to do now is that you are going to say to yourself, how many groups of 2's can you get from 12? All right. And of course, we can only get 6 groups. All right. And of course, 6 multiplied by 2, you get 12. Draw your line, and of course, you're going to take away. You have 12 things, and you give away all 12 of them, you have 0 left. All right. So guys, that is the end of that division problem. The next thing you are going to do now is that you're going to check to see if your quotient is right. Your quotient is 1.06, and we're going to check to see if it is correct. All right. So let's prove, or what we're going to prove to see if our answer is right, which is the same thing as our quotient. We are going to take 1.06 and we're going to multiply it by 2, which is our divisor. All right, so look to see how many digits are after your decimal place, and it is 1, 2. So we're going to put our decimal place down and put 2 dots to say there are 2 digits that should fall after. All right, so what next do we do? All right, so we're going to take the 6, and of course, we are going to multiply it by 2. So 6 multiplied by 2, of course, 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. 12 is a 2-digit number. You're going to take the 2 in the 1's place and put it down. Take the 1 that is in the 10th place and carry right over to the 10th place. And of course, you are going to take your 0 now and multiply it by 2. And of course, that is going to give you 0. And 0 plus the 1 that you carry is going to give you 1. So you put that 1 down. The next step is to take this 1 that is in the 1's place and multiply it by 2. And then you are going to get 2. All right. And of course, that is your answer. And remember, in a multiplication problem, your answer is known as your product. And that's the word P product. All right, that's the word product. All right, so I'm going to stop and let you take a close look at what we just did. So now let's look at the product and look at your dividend and see if they are the same. If they are the same, this is telling us that our quotient is correct. So our product is 2.12 and our dividend is 2.12. So they are the same. So that is telling us our quotient 1.06 is correct. And remember now, guys, your quotient in a division problem is the same thing we call our answer. Take a close look at it, and I'm going to erase it in a few. Thank you, guys, for making it the DD girls. Remember, if you're on the outside, you can leave us a comment for us to know that you are here with us. All right, the next problem that we are going to be working is that we're going to be working 3.70 divide by 2. And of course, that is our next problem. Remember, you have to set it out. And remember, in this case, 2 is known as your divisor, divisor. And of course, we have 3.70 is known as your dividend. All right, let's go right ahead and work this problem. First, you're going to ask yourself, how many groups of 2's can you get from 3? And of course, that is 1. Take this one, multiply it by 2. You are going to get 2. Draw your line and take away. You have 3 things. You give away 2. You are left with 1. The next thing is to check to see what is next in line. Can you get a group of 2 from this one? No. So I put my decimal place right here, put it back in my quotient, and then check to see the next digit that is there, which is 7. And of course, 7 is in the 10th place. I'm going to bring it down beside this one, and now I'm going to get 17. All right? Ask myself, how many groups of 2's can I get from 17? How many groups of 2's can I get from 17? And of course, I can only get 8. 8 groups. All right, so 8 multiplied by 2, of course, that is 16. Draw my line, and I'm going to take away. I have 7 things. I give away 6. I have only 1 left. I have 1 thing. I give away all of it. I have 0 left. All right, so the next thing I am going to do is that I am going to ask myself, can I get a group of 2 from this one? No, because 1 is smaller than 2. So I'm going to bring down the next digit that I have in my dividend. I just bring down my 7. So now it is the 0 that is left. I'm going to put my 0 right beside my 1. And now it becomes 10. All right. So now I'm going to ask myself, how many groups of 2's can I get from 10? How many groups of 2's can I get from 10? And of course, I can get 5 groups. I can get 5 groups. All right. So now I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by 2. And of course, that is going to be 10. Draw my line. I'm going to take away. And of course, guys, 10 from 10, you have 0 left. All right. So in this case, the answer to this division problem is 1.85. All right. That is our quotient. And of course, we are going to work it to see if our quotient is correct. All right, so we're going to prove our answer by doing a multiplication. Remember, we're going to be multiplying decimal number. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is to check to see how many digits are after our decimal place. All right, so all we're going to check, we're going to take our quotient, which is 1.85, 1.85, and we are going to multiply it by our divisor, which is 2. All right. So check to see how many digits are after your decimal place, and there are 1, 2 digits. All right. So I'm going to put my decimal place down, and I'm going to put 2 dots right here to say there should be only 2 digits after my decimal place. All right. So I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by 2. Of course, that is going to give us 10. 10 is a 2-digit number. I'm going to put my 0 down. And the next thing I am going to do, I'm going to carry my 1 over to my 10th place. All right. So I'm going to take my 8 and multiply by 2. And of course, 2 multiplied by 8 is 16. Plus this one that I carry is going to give me 17. All right. 17 is a 2-digit number. I'm going to put down the 7, which is in the 1's place. And of course, I'm going to carry my 1 over to my 1's place. And look, that's what I just did. All right. Now I'm going to take this one that I have in the 1's place and multiply it by 2. And of course, I'm going to get 2. So 2 plus 1 is going to give us 3. And that's how we get our product. Remember, in a multiplication problem, your answer is known as your product. So this is my product. Let me write the word product. And of course, the word product is spelled P-R-O-D-U-C-T. That is my product. All right. So that is my product. So now I'm going to check to see if my product, which is 3.70, is the same thing as my dividend in my mathematics problem. So 3.70 is the same thing. All right, so that is telling us that our quotient, which is 1.85, is correct. All right, I'm going to give you some time to check to see what we just did together. All right, take a close look at it. All right, I'm going to erase this problem. I'm going to erase this problem. And of course, I'm going to work another one with you. All right, so I'm going to erase this one. So in the meantime, we have Nika with us. Thank you for coming on over, Nika. Thank you for making it the Dynamic ED Girls. You are in Maths Hour with Mommy Dynamic. All right, so guys, remember that when you are doing division, there are some steps that you must follow. First, you divide. Then the second thing you do is to multiply. Then the second thing you are going to do is that, the third thing you're going to do is that you're going to take away. And of course, you are going to bring down if you need to. Then you are going to repeat the process. All right? Let's do the next problem. All right? So the next problem that we have, here is that we are going to be dividing. And what we're going to be dividing, we have 3.76. 3.76, and of course we are dividing by 5. So we're going to work that one out. Remember, we have to set it out first. All right, guys? So 3.76 is known as your dividend. And of course, in this case, 5 is known as your divisor. All right, so let's go ahead and work this problem. All right, guys? So ask yourself, how many groups of 5 can you get from 3? And of course, you can get only 0 groups of 5 because 3 is smaller than 5. Look to see what is next in your dividend, which is your decimal place. Put your decimal place back. Then you're going to take the next digit and put it with the first one, which is 7. So now you're going to have 37. Ask yourself, how many groups of 5 can you get from 37? All right? And of course, you can get 7 groups. And of course, 7, 5 is 35. So now you're going to take away, right? So in this case, you have 5 coming from 7. And of course, you're going to have 2 left. And you have 3 things and you give away all 3. You have 0 left. All right? So the next thing you are going to do is that you're going to ask yourself, can I get a group of 5 from 2? And of course, you can't. You can't get a group of 5. So you're going to bring down the next digit that is in line. And of course, that is your 6, and it is in the 100th place. All right, so you're going to bring it right down. All right, guys. So look carefully. Now we have 26. How many groups of 5 can you get from 26? And of course, that's only 5 groups of 5. All right, so take this 5 and multiply by 5. Of course, you're going to get 25. All right, so you're going to take away right here again. So you have 16, you give away 5, you only have 1 left. You have 2 things, you give away all 2 of it, you have 0 left. Can you get a group of 5 from 1? You can't, because 1 is smaller than 5. So remember, we're doing decimal number. We're going to add a 0 right here beside our 1. And of course, we're going to get 10. So the next thing we're going to do is to say, how many groups of 5 can you get from 10? And of course, you can get only 2 groups of 5. So take this 2, multiply it by this 5, and of course, you are going to get 10. And of course, when you have 10 things and you give it away, you're going to have 0 left. All right? So guys, we are finished with that multiplication problem. And of course, guys, thank you for making it the Dynamic DD Girls. We're now going to check to see if our quotient is correct. How do we go about checking if our quotient is correct? You take your quotient and multiply it by your divisor. And if you get your dividend, then that is going to tell you exactly that your quotient is correct. All right, so let's prove to see if our answer is correct. All right, so remember, I'm going to take my quotient, which is 0.752. 0.752, and I'm going to multiply it by 5. All right, so that is how we set it out. So the first thing you're going to do is to drop your decimal place so that they line up with the one that is in your problem. All right, so check now to see how many digits are after your decimal place. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put 3 dots, and of course, I'm going to make sure that they line up in column and row. All right. So the next thing is that we're going to do is to say, take this 2, and of course I'm going to multiply it by 5, and of course that's 10. 10 is a 2-digit number. I'm going to put down the 0 right here, and of course I'm going to carry my 1 over to my 100th place. All right? So now I'm going to take 5 and multiply it by 5. So this 5 multiplied by this 5, you're going to get 25. And of course, you're going to add 1 to it. 25 plus 1 is 26. And 26 is a 2-digit number. You're going to put down all your 6. The 6 that is in the 1's place, carry your 2 over to your 10th place. And of course, remember now, you can't put down all the 2-digit number. You have to do the necessary working, right? So I'm going to take this 7 and multiply it by 5. And of course, 7 multiplied by 5 is 35. 35 plus 2 is 37. I'm going to put my 7 down. And of course, I'm going to carry my 3 over to my 1's place. All right, guys. So the next step is that I am going to take this 0 multiplied by 5. And of course, any number you multiply with 0, you are going to get 0. So 0 plus 3, of course, that is going to be 3. So in this case, this is our product. Remember, your answer in a multiplication problem is known as your product. And of course, my product in this problem is 3.760. And of course, let me write the word product so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. All right? So I'm going to write P-R-O-D-U-C-T. And that's your answer for your multiplication problem. So now take your product and look if it is the same thing as your divisor in your division problem. So that's 3.760, and we have 3.76. All right, don't mind the 0 that you see right here at the end. It is there as a placeholder. So it is the same thing as your dividend. All right, so that is telling us that our quotient, which is 0.752, is correct. So just take a few moments and check to see what I did. All right, I'm going to erase it in a few. All right, guys, we're going to take another division problem. So here we have 9.70, and of course, we are dividing by 2. All right, guys, so let's work this problem. Let us work this problem to find the quotient. All right, first you have to set the problem out as usual. So remember now 9.70 in this case is your dividend, and of course we are going to go right ahead and so 2 in this case is known as your divisor. 2 in this case is known as your divisor. So look at it carefully, look at it carefully. All right? So let's work it. Ask yourself, how many groups of 2's can you get from 9? And of course, you can get 4 groups of 2's. So 4 multiplied by 2, 4 multiplied by 2. In this case, you get 8. Draw your line and of course, take away. You have 9 things and you give away 1 left. The next thing is that you're going to check to see what is next in line. And of course, you have a decimal place. So you're going to put your decimal place. Why? Because you can't get a group of 2's from 1. Alright? So the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to bring down the next digit that is in line, which is a 7. And of course, your 7. The next thing you are going to do is that you are going to say to yourself, how many groups of 2's can you get from 17? How many groups of 2's can you get from 17? And of course, that is 8 groups. You're going to take this 8 and multiply it by 2, and of course, you're going to get 16. Draw your line, and of course, you're going to take away. All right? So you have 7 away 16, you only have 1 left. All right? Can I get a group of 2 from 1? No, you can't. So I'm going to bring down the next digit that is in line. And of course, that is, of course, the 0, which is in the 100th place. All right, so now it becomes 10. So how many groups of 2's can I get from this 10? Of course, I can get 5 groups of 2's. All right, so now I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by 2. And of course, that is going to give me 10. I'm going to draw my line, and of course, I'm going to take away. And I'm going to have 0 right there. Because when I have 10 things and I give away all 10 of it, I have 0 left. All right, so that is the end of that division problem. And of course, my quotient for this problem is 4.85. And of course, remember, your quotient is your answer. So now we're going to do a check. We're going to prove to see if our answer is correct or if it is incorrect. Most likely, it is correct. All right, because we did the right thing. All right, so let's check. How are we going to check? We're going to take our quotient and multiply it by our divisor. So I'm going to write it down right here, which is 4.85. And of course, I'm going to multiply it by 2. All right? So this is what we do to prove to see if our quotient is correct. All right, so we're multiplying this decimal number right here. So remember, the first thing, you're going to line up your decimal place with the one that is in your problem. All right, so take the one that is going to be in your product and line it up with the one that is in your multiplicand. All right, so let's go ahead and work. First, check to see how many digits you have after your decimal place. 1, 2. So I'm going to put 2 dots right here. This is to ensure, you don't have to do this, but this is to ensure that my rows and my columns are intact. All right? So now take this 5 multiplied by 2, and of course you're going to get 10. 10, of course, is a 2-digit number. So I'm going to put down my 0, and of course I'm going to put it down right in my 100th column. And I'm going to take this 1, and I'm going to carry it right over to my 10th column. All right? So now I'm going to take my 8 in my 10th column, and I'm going to multiply it by my 2. All right? So 8 multiplied by 2 is 16, plus the one that you carry is 17. 17 now is a 2-digit number. My 7 is in my ones place. I'm going to put it right down. I'm going to carry my 1 over to my ones place. And of course, that is what it looks like. All right. So now I'm going to take my 4 in my ones place. And I'm going to multiply it by my 2. And 4 multiplied by 2, you get 8 plus the 1 that you carry, going to give you 9. All right. So in this case, the answer that you get is known as your product. Remember, we're doing multiplication, and your answer is also known as your product. That's your product. All right? So, guys, let's work together. All right? Look at this carefully. Check your product now and see if it is the same thing as your dividend. So our product is 9.70, and of course our dividend is 9.70. All right, remember now our product is 9.70 and our dividend is 9.70. And our quotient, of course, is 4.85. And of course, that is telling us that our quotient is correct. I'm going to be giving you a few minutes to look at this working. All right, then I'm going to erase it and we're going to take the last problem because we're at the last problem now. We are going to work it together. All right, let me go to the chat. Of course, we have Nika and we have Devon, and mega welcome to you, Devon and Nika. Thank you for coming on in. Thank you for making it Maths Hour. We also have the Dynamic Lady Girls, and of course, guys, that's Baby Dynamic, and of course, she is on our channel, the Dynamic Lady Girls, and of course, she is also sending some love from her educational channel, the Dijane Jane Garden Educational Channel. And of course, guys, if you want to go check her out, feel free to do so. Of course, she will be in the description box. All right, and of course, that's Baby Dynamic on her educational channel. You can go there to see some more division, of course, dividing decimal numbers by whole numbers. All right, thank you so very much, guys, for making it Maths Hour. All right, so I'm going to erase this problem, and of course, we are going to take the last problem. We're going to work it together. So for the persons who are here with us, thank you for coming. You can leave us a comment on the outside. Let us know what you think about this session. And of course, you can join us again. Feel free to join us. Feel free to go on the page to check out the other things that we have there. Also, if you need more maths like this, you can visit Dijane Jane Garden educational channel, which is Baby Dynamic. All right, so this is the next maths that we have right here. And of course, it is 9.51 divided by 6. And of course, if you look in the chat, you have Elaine Nika's corner. And of course, she is also versed in division, and of course on other content. You can go check her out as well. Of course, she is great at what she does. All right, guys, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. And of course, you can check out the chat. There are great content creators that are inside. All right, let's work this last problem. Let's go ahead and work this problem, guys. Set out the problem first. And 9.51 is your dividend, and of course in this case 6 is your divisor. So first you're going to ask yourself, how many groups of 6 can you get from 9? Of course you can only get one group of 6, and 1 multiplied by 6 is 6. Draw your line, take away. We just divide, we just multiply, and of course now we're going to take away. You have 9 and you're going to take away 6 from it. You are going to left with how much? 3. All right, so can I get a group of 6 from 3? No, 3 is smaller than 6. So I'm going to look to see what is next. Of course, we have our decimal place. We're going to put it right in our quotient. And of course, we're going to look what is next. And of course, we have a digit. We are going to bring it right down. And of course, that is numeral 5 right beside This 3 becomes 35. And of course, let us ask now, how many groups of 6 can we get from 35? And of course, we can only get 5 groups. All right, 5 groups of 6, and 5 multiplied by 6, of course, that is 30. All right, guys? So let's continue working this problem. So now you have 5 things and you give away 0. Of course, you have all 5 left. You have 3 things and you give away 3. You have 0 left. So now the next step is that you are going to ask yourself, can I get a group of 6 from 5? No, 5 is smaller than 6. So I'm going to bring down my next digit, which is my 1. And of course, I'm going to put it right beside my 5. And of course, how many groups of 6? How many groups of 6 can I get from 51? And of course, I can only get 8 groups. All right? So now I'm going to take my 8 and multiply it by 6. 8 multiplied by 6, or 6 multiplied by 8, you are going to get what? You are going to get 48. Let's do some takeaway here. All right? I'm going to take 1 from that, leave 4. 1 group of 10 from 50, I leave with 40. I'm going to add a group of 10 to 1 right there, and I'm going to get 11. So I'm going to take away 8 from 11. I'm going to left with 3. All right? So now I'm going to take away 4 from 4. You're going to left with 0. All right? So I'm doing some simple working for you right here. All right? Guys, can I get a group of 6 from 3? We can't. So because we're doing decimal number, I'm going to add a 0 right here beside my 3, and it becomes 30. So now I'm going to say, how many groups of 6 can I get from 30? And of course, I can only get 5 groups. All right? So take this 5 and multiply it by 6. I'm going to get 30. So now I'm going to take away again. And of course, you have 30 things, and you give away all 30 of it. You are going to left with 0. So we're finished working that problem, guys. We are finished working that problem. And of course, our quotient for that problem is 1.585. And of course, we are now going to check to see if our quotient for this problem is correct. Or are we going to check to see if it is correct? We're going to take our quotient, and of course, we're going to multiply it by our divisor. Let's see. We're going to prove to see if our answer is correct. All right, guys? We're going to prove. All right? So I'm going to take it and put it right here. Let's work it together. So I have 1.585, and I'm going to be multiplying by 6. All right, guys? So let's work it together. All right? So I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by 6. But before we do that, I'm going to put my decimal place down, because remember, we're multiplying decimal numbers. And of course, let's check next to see how many decimal places are after your decimal point. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put 3 dots right here to let you know that there are only 3 digits that should fall after your decimal place. So 5 multiplied by 6 is 30, and 30 is a 2-digit number. So the first thing we're going to do is to put our 0 down, and of course, what we're going to do next is that we're going to carry our 3. All right, guys? So we're going to carry our 3 over to our 100th place. Then we're going to take this 8 and multiply it by 6. And 8, 6 is 48, plus 3, 48, 49, 50, that's 51. And of course, I'm going to put down my 1 and carry my 5 over to my 10th column, because 51 is a 2-digit number. All right, now I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by 6. You're going to get 30. 30 plus 5, of course, is going to be 35. I'm going to put my 5 down and carry my 3 over to my 1's place. I'm going to take this 6 and multiply it by 1, and that's going to give me 6. 6 plus 3 is going to give me 9. All right, guys, so that is known as our product. And of course, the word product is spelled P-R-O-D-U-C-T, P-R-O-D-U-C-T, and the answer in a multiplication problem is known as our product. All right, so our product is 9.510, which is the same thing as 9.51 in our division problem for our dividend. So this 0 that we have at the end of our product is just like a placeholder. And guys, this is telling us that our quotient for this problem is correct. Thank you for making it the Dynamic Lady Girls. Until next time, I am Mommy Dynamic signing out. Guys, thank you so very much for coming. Have a fantastic day. And of course, we have Devon Stewart saying,